So we're going to do captions. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the monthly meeting of PQ for Professional Leadership. The intersection of how do we lead people? How do we lead ourselves? Because, yeah, that's right. We all have to take care of us as leaders as well. Let me adjust. I don't actually want to see all of my words popping on screen. There we go. So today we're going to be talking about momentum as we move into this next year. And oh, thank you, Denise. We were just discussing, should we go to the other room? Should we, how do we manage that? I appreciate you self-leading, self-managing. Before we start, we're going to do a meditation, activation, and the goal, should you choose to accept it, is I want you to think about anything over the last year that you didn't do. So we're going to, before we go into momentum, which is our topic, we're going to let go. Daniel had this brilliant analogy of what if you were driving a car, really sweet sports car, and you had the parking brake on. Like you got all the momentum and you got all the big engine and you really want to go forward and you forgot to take the parking brake off. So we are going to release the parking brake today. So if you're in a safe place, you can close your eyes, go off camera, entirely up to you. I just want you to wiggle your booty a little bit, get comfortable. I want you've seen animals as they get ready, like to sit down and they do the little thing. I want you just to slightly do that with your back and then see what position your spine wants to be in a very comfortable way. And when you've found that perfect position for you, just go ahead and sit back, lean back, relax back into this moment. And just take a breath and let it go. Nothing to see, nothing to do. And imagine pushing your back up against the chair or the sofa or whatever you're sitting on. Imagine feeling that safe container holding you up. Whatever that is, the chair. Imagine feeling all the parts of your body that are being pressed up. Maybe it's your back. Maybe it's the tops of your legs, the back of your legs. And just imagine feeling all those pieces of your body pressed up against what is holding you up. The container, the boundary of a chair. And now bring your attention to the part of your body that is not being held by the chair. Imagine it feeling more open. See if you can feel a breeze, a temperature, a sensation. Letting go, freedom. Now I want you to open both of your hands in front of you. And in your hands, I want you to imagine the last year. That's right, you're holding a year in your hands. And for every single one of us, last year held whatever last year held. So as you're relaxing back into this moment, into your calm breathing, open both of your hands and just imagine holding last year. Everything it handled, everything it didn't handle, everything you handled, everything you didn't handle. Just a year in your hands. And for us to be able to release and let go as we move forward, I'm going to have you imagine crunching all of that year up into your palms. And I want you to tighten your hands, tense your hands up. Feel that tension in your hands. It's so much more difficult to have something come in with these tightened fists, but I want you to tighten those fists all about that last year. And on your next exhale, I want you to open your hands and just release anything that was done, that wasn't done, anything you did or didn't do. Just let that whole year go. And notice in your awareness if anything else comes up, a voice saying, well, you really should have, or you could have. If there's another idea that comes up, tense those hands up again, holding, squeezing, and then on an exhale, let go. And I invite you to remember trying this anytime you notice you're holding on too tightly. The universe has magical hows, magical ways to deliver us everything we want. And we're going to just one more time, anything that you're holding back, anything that's tethering you, squeeze those hands together. Imagine pushing it into a little ball. And on your next exhale, open your hands and just release. And as we step forward into this next new year, imagine releasing and letting go anything that didn't serve us, anything our hands clenched. Come back into this space, feel your chair on the bottom. Take another breath in. And welcome to 2026, year of momentum. So Daniel, would you mind introducing us to this engaging topic? And thank you all for playing.
Sure. There was a spoiler alert before we were recording. And momentum is an idea that's really, really close to my heart because mathematically, it's just such a clean concept. It's got a wonderful formula and everything, but it applies to everything. And I see momentum as being one of the most powerful forces in the universe because once we overcome that static friction, then we can start stacking and even compounding interest, which is known as one of the wonders of the world that people kind of say tongue in cheek, just because it defies explanation because it's so effective. It's merely a mathematical representation of momentum because you're stacking wins upon wins upon wins over time. So we thought that it'd be a fantastic way to start the year by talking about momentum and by talking about how there are a lot of different ways to access momentum, and each of us are programmed a little bit different. There are some things, when Theresa and I were talking, we were talking about like the idea of like a race car, a Formula One race car, and they get so precise with the engineering that they do that they experiment with these fuel mixtures where they're dialing little things up and down because they know their engine so well that they know what their engine will respond to and won't respond to as well. And we can do the same by looking at different aspects of generating momentum and asking ourselves which ones are the biggest ones for me? Which ones are the ones that are most important for me to tap into? And where can I focus my efforts in order to make sure that we're doing, like James Clear talks about, that 1% increase every day, stacking over time in a sustainable way.
So to that end, we're going to talk about the idea of how do you gain or feel momentum. So if this is your first time in the group, welcome. It's a very engaging. Most people leave going, "Wow, I learned something. Something aha for me. Something shifted," and it's all very generative. We all learn from each other. One of the things I love about the yes and game is it's created synergy. So oftentimes synergy just gets created randomly, like, oh, I had that idea. I had that idea too. It's sort of that like, wow, that's so cool. We in this group generate synergy almost as if on purpose using momentum. So we're going to share a little bit about how we gain momentum, and then we're going to go into some other ideas about momentum without burnout. But one of the ways I build momentum is little wins. And it might be a win where somebody says something helped them. And I don't have high pleaser in my tendencies, but I do have high hyperachiever. And I don't really care if someone's pleased, but if they take action and they do something, oh boy, do my little cells get all happy and the mitochondria are like bursting with bubbles of goodness. So for me, a small win might be I follow up with a potential client and they're like, I am so glad you reached out to me. I'm like, oh, okay, tell me what's going on. It makes me want to reach out more. And I had a huge shift last year in my follow up systems, realizing it's not for them. It's not for me, it's for them. Because I kept thinking, oh my gosh, somebody did a discovery call. I'm annoying them. Anyone else, I'm following up with them. How many is too many? And then I realized, Theresa, this is for them, not for you.
Mm.
It changed everything. It became about, hey, what do you need in this moment? What's going on? And I had one woman reach out and say, I cannot believe it. It's like you're a mind ninja. I just got out of a new relationship since our call 2 years ago, and they were a narcissist. And I'm still dealing with having to work through that. And I was just like, I am so glad in that moment I chose to say, hey, what's going on for you? Do you need any support? This is 2 years ago. So that momentum carries me, the momentum that I'm making or having a difference or whatever that looks like. Um, oh, love it. Love it. And Daniel asked, who else gains momentum from small wins? And let us know. Perfect. Do you want to share, Veronica, and then Daniel, and then anyone else who wants to share? You can put up your hand virtually in your imagination. Well, actually, we need a virtual or an actual. But please share.
I love that you're starting with the small wins because we often overlook the little things that are contributing to our success. And when you can acknowledge the small wins and you pay attention to them, they become bigger in your mind. It's easy to
Mm,
gloss over them and to move on to the next task or the next goal, especially if you have hyperachiever or you have that drive. You just blow right through it and say to yourself, like, what's next? That wasn't good enough. Now what? What have you done for me lately? Sort of thing. And in my coaching, I am very intentional about asking my clients about things worth celebrating or a small win. And sometimes they surprise me with like a really big thing, but often it's, the challenge of, well, since we last spoke, what was the small win that you have? And then they want to kind of barrel on. And it's like, well, hold on, hold on, hold on. Let's talk about that for a second. And like, that's a big deal. That's come up over months. Like there's a pattern of you saying this would be a big deal. How's it feel? Like what are you going to do to celebrate? You want to get like a really nice cup of coffee. Like, is it that the scale of celebration, a nice cup of coffee with a little treat? Or is it like something really monumental where it's worth having an expensive dinner out or even like gifting yourself travel? But to slow them down long enough to acknowledge it can be significant. And as a coach, I should take my own advice, but I don't. I had somebody else that I told about like a big thing that I did, and I just wanted to like roll on and like continue talking about like what was next with it. And she's like, "Wait, hold on." And she did that to me without prompting. And then like threw her arms out, gave me a big hug, and that's huge. No, seriously, stop. Like that. She instinctively did that for me. And it meant so much. It really did. And I didn't expect that to come. And it made me realize, is that what I'm doing for my clients? That's a gift to have somebody let you brag for a minute. And that's also something that I think many of us are programmed out of is don't brag. Don't, no hubris here. And to have somebody give you dedicated space to pat yourself on the back. And I give my clients virtual high fives, like to acknowledge these things. And it can really have a big impact.
I think one of the things that I love about what you just said, Veronica, is just acknowledging the importance of it. There can be a tendency to downplay it. And I think for a lot of different reasons, we do that. Most of us do at some point. Sometimes someone, pumping the brakes and saying, whoa, 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 whoa. That's a big deal. We're not just going to brisk by that. I think it's really cool. And last month, when we talked about celebration, one of the other functions that we discussed about hitting that pause button to celebrate was that in the story of the day, we're actually highlighting that passage. So when we look back on that day, or we look back on that month or that year, that's what can stand out to us, because we took that moment to highlight that passage, which is just a powerful gift that we can give to ourselves and to other people we work with.
So who else, how else do you build momentum? How else does momentum happen in your lives? I feel like making the Alex Trebek music. Go Rachel. Do, 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 do.
I mean, not pushing through, but simply doing stuff and then getting more comfortable. like kind of like the rinse and repeat, and realizing it's not as awful as I may have feared an hour ago, but just doing it.
I love that. I purposely do hard things. And I have a girlfriend, I celebrate hard things. It was like we text each other, I did a hard thing. And it doesn't matter what the thing is. It's just like, I did a hard thing. What was your hard thing? I started working on my taxes. That is a hard thing. But like almost leaning into the hard things. And the other thing I want to say about that, I'm also a professional martial artist, and have been for many years. One of the things I teach people is when we make hard on ourselves, when we make something a challenge, when life throws us a challenge, we're like, "Ha! That's all you got." I do hard for breakfast. Like I lift weights, or I make challenging things happen for myself. So when the universe throws out one, it's like, I got this. There's this level of resilience, especially if you're doing something like that. Thank you, Rachel. Clara.
Hello, Happy New Year, everyone. Okay, let me circle back just a fraction. I did a sort of vision board. My first vision board was a Corvette. I wanted a Corvette, right? And that was 15 years ago, and I still don't have a Corvette, right? And then I did other ones until I heard someone say that the vision boards were very dangerous, because they focus you on a goal that was so far, that was a lot more productive to actually draw the path. And I stopped doing visuals because I'm visual enough inside my head, and I sort of have the path with all, the twists and turns and the signposts and everything. And so I believe a lot more in the sort of the small steps, but because I tend to, have tendencies of being a perfectionist and an overachiever and whatever, by the time I reach a milestone that I want to celebrate, I'm too tired. Generally, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. So I started, maybe after summer last year, I started celebrating whenever I feel like it. Yeah. So I don't know. Today I fancy a pizza. It's something we don't eat junk food, and it's pizza made at home. Okay, so it's half junk. So let's change everything and have pizza and the movie today. So we sit on the floor, we have our pizza. It's just me and my husband. So have our pizza and watch a movie. And it hasn't been anything that we've done that particular day, but we know that it was the day before, and then we'll have something to celebrate the following day. So I think it sort of creates, it's not sort of like Pavlov's dog, that here's the bell and whatever, but it creates a permission to give yourself slack and give yourself the power to enjoy whatever you fancy, because you've earned it. It's not sort of, I do this, I get that. That's what I wanted to share.
Awesome. Thank you. Joan.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm calling in from San Diego, California. I pop in every once in a while. Thank you for those that are always here, Theresa, Daniel, and where's the other lady? Veronica, always here. Thank you for your commitment. It's basically what Teresa already said, to have an accountability partner. It's like I created this method that I use with my clients and sometimes with myself. You know how that goes. And it's called 3x3. And every night I ask them to text me 3 things they're proud of that they did that day, 3 things they're grateful for, and 3 things they're going to do tomorrow. So when I do that to someone, when I send my stuff to somebody, it keeps me more accountable. It helps me with that little nudge that is so easy for me to help others, but not help myself. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. And is it Francesca?
Yeah,
Francesca?
yeah. Francesca, yeah. Good morning, good afternoon. I don't know what time zone all of you are in. I'm in the Pacific time zone from Vancouver, Canada. And I've been on and off the group. I started off during the PQ days, but I have been a little absent doing other things, but I'm glad to reconnect once again. And interesting that we're talking about a topic that I am passionate about, momentum. I mean, as a professional coach, isn't what we try to help our client gain and to be able to move forward with their goals and intention. But the truth is that most of us also get caught up in that web where we don't even know what fuels us, what gives us the momentum to keep pushing. And like Teresa said, small wins, of course, they are a source of momentum. You know, for me personally, they kind of help me gain traction, knowing that what I'm doing is yielding some result. But there are some times that I don't get the result that I'm looking for. So how do I build momentum from not getting the result that I'm looking for? Because it's not always that we get these small wins, right? And so what I try to do is intentionally look for the insights that makes me learn and grow. And that becomes a source of momentum for me because when I'm learning and I'm translating what I'm learning into new actions that produces a different kind of outcome, that is growth for me. And that kind of fuels momentum from time to time. So aside from the practical wins, momentum for me comes from the new insight, the knowledge I'm gaining, you know, the awareness about the situation, the circumstance, myself, the people involved that I'm gaining. All of that helps me to become a new person or have a new perspective or devise a new way of being or a new way of doing things. And I think that gives me some level of momentum to keep going.
I love this. And I hope you're all learning from each other too, right? Like you're seeing something for yourself or for your clients. Thank you so much, Francesca. I put that in the chat also, insight, learning, and then awareness. Tristan.
Yes. So for me, when I get a good news, when there's something to celebrate, I just close my eyes and I kind of descend in what I call my inner sanctuary, and I feel the vibration. I feel the joy. I feel the fire. And it's pretty powerful. And it can last quite a while. It can last a day or two where I really sit and relax in this beautiful, joyful energy. And the way I extend it is that I distribute this energy, and more specifically with my clients, and they receive it and they give it back to me. It's kind of a, two ends game where the energy is here, I offer it, and I receive it back.
So beautifully said. Mine is just the accent too. I could listen all day. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. David.
Hey everybody. I haven't been with you live in a long time, and it's great to be back. When I think of momentum, I think what comes to mind for me immediately is Jim Collins and his idea of the flywheel. And I don't know how many of you have been exposed to that or recall it. But it for me, it's like I like to think about impact. and that word's come up a few times in today's conversation. And I like to adopt this mentality of getting a little bit better every time, and so I'm looking for impact both with clients and on myself personally. I'm looking at the idea of getting just a little bit better every time, without it being a saboteur kind of a thought, more of a sage thought of improvement. And
Did the voices in my head stop speaking?
Uh,
Froze.
It froze.
You never know if it's just you.
we
Okay,
lost him. Yeah.
back. Man, you guys, it's like you know what's coming next too.
yeah.
David, you're back. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I wasn't here. I think I'm having a little trouble with my internet. I don't know where I lost you, but for me, it's impact and getting a little bit better, and in a real sage kind of way, and that's where I get momentum from.
Love it. Thank you so much. Miss Veronica.
This is my first meeting, not in a formal leadership role with this group. I'm just an attender today. So this is a new experience for me. It's kind of fun. One of the things that often halts my momentum is a sense of overwhelm. Overwhelmed because there's so much to do, it's so complicated, or I have so many things that I would like to include. And strategies that I've been able to put together over the years are to combat that sense of overwhelm that I feel. And it's like the emergency brake comes on. Nothing moves forward when you hit that overwhelm. I shut down. And I see it happening with my clients too. It was actually through my clients, helping them manage it, that I learned how to figure out like which ones matched up for me. So one of the things is recognizing my energy. When do I have the best energy for what types of tasks? So matching my energy to the task has been a big piece. So after many years of not being a morning person, I ended up becoming, as I got older, a morning person. And so I put my best tasks in the morning, or the most important things. The thing if I got this done today, it would be a win. And I try to get that done and match it up with the energy that I have. Where in the afternoon, when I hit a lull, those are great times to sort of mind wander and to do things that are more creative or administrative, that don't require a lot of thinking and definitely don't require me to interact with other human beings. So I try to energy match. But then the overwhelm isn't always a result of energy. Sometimes it's the too much. So analysis paralysis, or a feeling of just, I don't even know where to start. The confusion Daniel was mentioning, like if he knows exactly what to do, he can move forward. And so two strategies that I came up with for that, I didn't like invent them, but two that I use is one is to ask questions, like what questions need to be answered before I feel comfortable moving forward. And I just write down the questions. So it's a question storming exercise. And often there's things where like I have the answer to that, I just need to go do that, or I know who to ask for that, or is that something I can research? And it really leaves me with very few things that are left unanswered. So sometimes it's an answering situation. Sometimes the thing that you think is the minor first step, even that is overwhelming. So how can you break that down into even smaller bits? Or is there pre-work that you need to do in order to get to this small task? So do you need to just gather phone numbers? Or what's the email address of this person? Can I just mark that off of my list? I got the email address, I know their name, and I'm going to draft it. No commitment to sending it. I'll draft it just to get something minor done. And so sometimes my momentum has to come from these micro wins, getting the little things done first. And the last piece of it is what I consider to be a combination of simplicity meets synergy. And so how can I simplify the task or the idea into its smallest, common denominators? And how can one move one activity, one task meet multiple goals. And that is when that momentum just starts to fly. Because if I can see that doing this one thing hits this bucket, and this bucket all at once, my motivation for it increases and the momentum builds because then I can see that that impact, that one little thing had such significant ripple effects. So those were the ones that I wanted to share.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Tony?
Oh, this is also wonderful, everybody. I'm appreciating elements of what everybody has to say. I can't begin, that simplicity meets synergy and everything. So, along the lines of Tristan, I reflected that noticing how something feels in the moment is really powerful. So I actually had a concrete example of that before Christmas, reaching out to a few people I'd sort of been hesitating, avoiding past clients, and actually doing it and hearing back from them fairly quickly. And I just took the moment to just go, how did that feel to actually make the actions, the email, the thoughtful email, and whatever else I included, and actually get that done and notice how it felt to have something coming back. So both feelings, because not always are you going to have something coming back, but and it's good not to have that expectation. So that is something I'm still noticing today, just noticing the noticing and bringing it back for myself. The other thing is also putting aside the expectations because there's a sort of a waiting that happens, which can get in the way of the momentum, right? And distract. So that's the other thing. And then speaking of the overwhelm and all those great tips that you have for yourself, Veronica, I'm going to return to something that would really, this session reminds me of something that would really well for me because of the overwhelm that I have all the things I want to do and learn and excited about and rabbit holes and passions. And yes, ADHD and proud of it, not really, but anyways, so having three, thanks, Rachel. Having three quick wins on my sort of to-do list, because they do give us that dopamine hit and they are still important. And just circling 1 to 2 priorities for the day. Maybe they are those things that might have the ripple effect, maybe are the most meaningful or important. That gives me more flow. I kind of align momentum and flow. I kind of for myself, I associate the word flow with a sage momentum versus a saboteur momentum. Um, and then finally, when it's something like bookkeeping, which one has to do, I set aside a time and I stick to it. It's a block where I know that I will feel good afterwards. Notice how I feel afterwards, but stick to it. So noticing how it feels in the moment and being able to notice it so much that I can bring that back to give energy to my momentum is probably my favorite one right now.
Mm. Wow, talk about crowdsourcing. Next up. All right, you're doing all the things. You got your small wins, you're having your cup of coffee and your pizza, and it's all awesome. And then life happens. Maybe not life, but momentum dips. Your energy is not matching, as Veronica so astutely talked about. What do you do? How do you come back when your momentum dips? Now, it's almost like y'all are tapping into my mind, which, it's a dark and scary place, but it's also a lot of fun. And Laura had mentioned her saboteurs. Well, guess what, y'all? That is sometimes what will dip our momentum. A saboteur gets all mouthy up on in there and says things or makes us feel things or whatever that looks like. So for you, what happens when your momentum dips and how do you move the needle? How do you move past it? Veronica just put in anticipating the obstacles. Boom, shakalaka. That's a great one. Veronica, you want to share a little bit more about that?
Sure. So if I recall, and I don't know what phase of PQ training they're on now, but the one that I experienced in cohort 8, I remember Shirzad talking about anticipating obstacles, like what's going to get in your way, how might you on autopilot react, and how would you prefer to react? And the idea that when you rehearse how you want to act in a certain situation, your brain doesn't necessarily know that it's not actually happening. It creates the same neural pathways as actually doing it. So when you experience the anticipated pathway, you're more likely to take your newly planned one than your automatic habit because you've mentally drawn that pathway. Um, and in that same vein, recognizing that, as Theresa said, life's going to happen. And it doesn't matter how well you plan something out, you're not going to account for everything. With my background in creative thinking and creativity, the planning for obstacles shows up as an experimentation mindset. So, what's the prototype of this that you're going to be putting out there? What's the hypothesis you'll be testing? Like in science, they don't necessarily know what's going to happen with an experiment. And a lot of what they need is for it to fail, because in the failure, they learn, and they learn more about the situation, about how things are unfolding. And so when you test your idea, when you experiment and you have an experimentation mindset, that obstacle that you encounter becomes an opportunity to refine and learn and make it better. And so that anticipation of obstacles becomes something that you, instead of dreading and becomes a momentum killer, becomes something you can harness and turn into, I'm thinking about like the boosters, like you're running along and you can hit a springboard and it boosts you even further, that these obstacles initially can seem like something that'll stop you, but they can actually launch you deeper if you don't stop. If you take on a mindset that I will learn something new here that I didn't know before. I couldn't possibly have known it before unless I ran this experiment. Or time needs to happen. New technology needs to be released. Something, you can't force it. It has to be in its own time. And that obstacle right now is it hasn't been released yet, or that time hasn't come yet, or you haven't met that person, or whatever the thing is. And so that's what I wanted to offer up, is the combination of the way Shirzad talks about the neural pathways combined with this idea of experimentation and the creative thinking can be really powerful to take obstacles that you anticipate and turn them into momentum. And this works also for obstacles you don't anticipate, because once you have some small wins under your belt showing that you can overcome these obstacles, the next time you run into something that catches you off guard, you then can say to yourself, well, I can figure this out. What am I going to learn from this? And it might take effort initially to ask yourself those questions, but repeatedly, it starts to come more natural until you kind of even don't even notice that you had a setback in that way, because you kind of roll with it. So that's my share about anticipating obstacles.
Awesome. Jill.
Yeah, thanks. And Veronica, I like that concept of future memories. I think that's so powerful, such a great strategy that, visualizing it tricks the brain into thinking you've been there before and it knows where you want to go. And for me, as I think about momentum, I'm also a John Maxwell facilitator and follower for a long time. He talks about the law of the big mo and how important it is. And one of the ways that he talks about it and I always think of is when you think of a train moving, right? It takes a lot more energy to move a train forward when it's stopped than if you just kind of, even if you're slowing down a little bit, to just get it revved up a little bit, and how important that is. And what I do to check in for myself, because especially last year was so crazy personally and work slowed a little bit, but building that self-awareness of knowing and recognizing and checking in when those saboteurs come in, those saboteurs of, oh my gosh, you don't have anything on the books right now. What if this happens or what if that happens? And all this worry comes up, and I just stop and check in and ask, is this true? These lies, all these worries, all these, worries about anticipating all these things that could happen can just stop you in your tracks. And when I recognize that, that's my chance to, all right, let's just move forward in faith that let's take one small step. Let's do one small thing today. And that's what digs me out personally, is applying that when it happens. And it helps. It really does, because you can, I'm married to someone who, is hyper focused on everything. And, so he worries tremendously. So I worry a little bit, but when I do, I notice it and I don't like how it feels at all. And so paying attention to that and shifting has really been helpful for me.
Love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's always interesting what we notice about someone else that we don't enjoy when we see it in ourselves. It's like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
When my
Yeah.
hypervigilant, when the version of me that gets worried or hypervigilant shows up, like, no, not that, not that. I grew up with that. That was like the love language of my mom. I don't want that. All right, Clara.
Okay, so I just said a good example of that. So I work, I call it writing a book. Really, it's my program. So I had my program more or less figured out. And then, okay, this certification I was waiting for on Teams came. And oh, that's great because it fits perfectly. Yeah. And then I was checking with ChatGPT and Claude and all my friends, and they said, because my passion is communication, internal communication and external communication is extremely important as well. Oh, right. So another chapter on internal communication, another chapter on the... So I kept on building up and building up and building up this incredible thing. And then I did a draft and I gave it to my husband to read. Yeah. And of course, he couldn't read it so like in a couple of days. It took him like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. And when I went back, I was looking at it and did I write that? I don't remember. Especially the earlier stuff, yeah? Well, where did this come from? It had really this weird feeling that it wasn't me, and I felt extremely lost in the middle of all that because it just didn't feel right anymore, right? And so I'd lost the momentum. And then I figured out, wait, I've been married to Ray for 40 years. Couples retreat, anything that applied to my target audience applies to couples. It's a team. They have kids. They have the same issues at a smaller scale. I don't have social proof of working with CEOs and whatever enough, at least those that I can, show publicly that I've worked with. Yeah. So, but I can say, and you can't fake it, that I've been married for 40 years and it still works. So we're doing a retreat in March. And so it's a couples retreat, which is the program for the CEOs and the C-suites and whatever, but applied to couples. So sometimes it's good to sort of go up, and then you run out of fuel and you feel like you're falling down. And although I hate heights and never thought about jumping in a parachute or whatever, but then there's someone that comes down and grabs you, yeah, and he has a spare parachute, and then you just land and say, okay, good idea, I'm going to do this other thing. And of course I haven't given up the first one, but I don't feel that pressure. I don't have my hyperachievers of saying, what, you've been working on this for over 6 months and you still haven't done it, you stupid. Yeah. So that's it. Not stupid, but
Thank you. I
idiot.
love that. Does anyone remember the game show? It was like call a friend. There were 3 things you could do if you didn't
The
know the
lifelines.
answer.
Who wants to be a millionaire?
Okay.
Yeah.
50-50,
Thank you.
phone a friend and ask
What
the
are the
audience.
3? Phone a
I still am.
friend,
phone
Ask
a
the
friend,
audience.
Ask the
ask the
audience.
audience, and
50-50.
50-50, wasn't
Oh,
it?
take two.
They
Yeah,
take
yeah.
away two of the options.
Yeah, I can't do that one. What if we all had our 3 lifelines? What if we created for ourselves our 3 lifelines when we got stuck, and Rachel generously offered in the nap attack, which I'm a big fan, and I've done ever since college. If I get really frustrated or upset, I'm freaking lying down, because whatever happens in my head, whatever guidance I'm getting, it shifts me. And what if it's a walk? What would your 3 lifelines be? Daniel might create a plan. I don't know. The
Well,
logic brain will be creating
yeah,
something.
I love this question because, sometimes there can be a tendency to treat like, oh, I had a good day. I woke up with good momentum. Oh, I had a bad day. I woke up with bad momentum, as though it's just random and it comes and goes with the wind. But to me, that's like saying, oh, it was a weird day yesterday. I was thirsty. Well, why would you be thirsty? I don't know. It was the weirdest thing. I just had this buildup of thirst. Well, I was thirsty because I didn't drink enough to accommodate whatever was going on. So for me, if my momentum is dipping, I just look at, okay, how am I not tapping into the things that provide my momentum? I need a clear plan. So especially if there's a lot of chaos going around me, I need to invest even more in a clear plan. Otherwise, how that's going to show up for me is I'm going to feel less motivated and I'm going to be tempted to avoid. So there can be like varying doses depending on what's going on in life, that on an easy day, it's easy for me to have enough certainty in order to feel motivated to engage. And on days when everything is hitting the fan, the proverbial fan, then I need to invest more in tapping into the things that give me momentum in the first place.
Isn't it a proverbial fan? Isn't it real? Isn't there really a fan and line up against it? So one of yours might be create a plan. Jill put grab a Bible verse, take a walk, sing. Call a friend, take a nap. Give us your 3. Tony, you're unmuted. Were you going to input or it just happened?
It just happened. I'm absorbing. I'm not really thinking. I'm absorbing you all.
Take us in, my friend. Francesca, did you have 3 lifelines that you would use if momentum dips based on our conversation?
I think for me is to hit the reset button, because yeah, if something is not working, if there's a loss of momentum, maybe there's need to kind of reflect on what's not working and reset. It doesn't have to be a complete overhaul, but a little bit of resetting can help you get back momentum. And what I do mostly as a coach, I use a framework which is from the Blue Ocean Strategy. The framework is called ERRC. That's eliminate, reduce, raise, create. So during the reset process, I ask myself, what am I doing that I need to eliminate in order to be able to move forward? And then I ask myself again, what am I doing that's working that I need to do more of? How do I raise it to become more impactful? And then, what do I need to reduce? What volumes in my life do I need to tone down so that I can be more effective and gain more momentum? And again, what don't I yet have that I need to create so that I can move forward? So that is how I kind of, build up my reset process. But a lifeline for me, mostly when I hit a momentum relapse, is to press that reset button so that I can refresh myself, rewire my mindset, and reframe my thinking generally, and re-engage with a new process. Probably gain momentum after doing that.
Love that. Love that. And I also want to mention that Veronica has a creativity coaches training. And if you're stuck in how do I create momentum moving forward? How do I make things different? How do I come at it differently? Veronica was going to give me the link. I'm like texting her in the chat, like now, please, now. But if that is something that speaks to you, that might be an option. Get creative with yourself. Find creativity. Veronica, if you could drop that in the link in the chat, that would be uber fantastic.
Sure. I'm going to include a PQ perk.
There you go.
It's a discount if anybody is interested, or you can email me, message me if you have any questions about it. It is a training for human development professionals, including coaches. So it's for yourself, but also for how you use it, which is great.
And you get CCEs. So yay to that. So between now and the next meeting, start thinking about like, what are my 3 lifelines? And I want to also speak. So PQ, how many of you guys have ever been involved in startups? Okay, good. Of all of the groups, of all of the communities of practice, we get it. And why do we get it? Because we've seen startups. So PQ is changing and shifting and moving, and there is discussion about disbanding COPs as a practice. Guess what? We're not. Why? Because I'm a rebel, y'all. I don't even care. This is my Zoom room. So you do not have to be a PQ coach to be in this group. You do not have to be certified to be in this group. Will we talk about PQ stuff? Sure, because it's a common language that we all share. Moving forward, I don't know what PQ's plans are. I don't think PQ knows what PQ's plans are. Bill is no longer with Positive Intelligence, and Lisa, who is also in our cohort 1, is also no longer with Positive Intelligence. So I'm not sure where it's going to go. But here's a lifeline for you. Second Friday of the month, make sure that we've got your email, because I don't know if right now they're going to keep up the app access, and we will engage in the app. How many of you guys even check the app, right? Like some do, some don't, some will, some won't, right? And if you're not currently a PQ coach, you might not have access to it. So we're going to keep up these meetings based on all of that. And it was Denise that said impact is her word for the year. Positive impact. I had a student once who was on the spectrum, and I said, I really love making an impact. He's like, well, positive impact, right? Like, well, yeah, it wouldn't even have occurred to me to go the other way. But his brain, he sees all the aspects, very literal. So as long as this group makes a positive impact for coaches, we will keep doing it, and we will guide it. And maybe there's a topic that yes, this is the Zoom link going forward. It's my Zoom room. I will post recordings. They will be on the playlist on YouTube. I'll put that link in the chat as well. But you may, throughout the a PQ world, start hearing, oh, there's no more COPs, or it's changing, or it's this. I don't love things going with the wind. I don't love it when someone's like, this is how it's going to be from here on out. I've had enough startups to know, no, it's not always that way. So as long as this is a benefit to you, we're doing it. We are doing it. We also talked about starting a LinkedIn group. Thank you. Oh, I love that. I love the new motions. Just takes a hot minute.
It does. It takes time.
Right? So make sure we've got your email address, and you should have gotten an email from Pam if we have your email address. I will keep on the app as well, keep mentioning the meetings. But as long as this is something that you want to be in, we'll keep doing it. We will.
That's beautiful. I'm so grateful for you guys and the effort and the thought you put into this, the 3 of you and Pam and whoever else I'm forgetting here. But I think I'm probably speaking for everyone.
If we
It's so
receive
great.
emails now, no, if you've gotten the emails now, you're good. If you're already getting emails, we've got your name somewhere on the list. Pam does anyway, somewhere.
Theresa, do you know why they decided, or?
They weren't seeing a lot. Here's a great subjective. They weren't seeing a lot of engagement. They weren't seeing in our app, we have over 700 coaches in PQ who are in the app. I think 650, 700, something like that. And then every monthly meeting, we'd have 20, 25 people show up. So they weren't thinking that it wasn't offering that much. And I'm like, y'all haven't been in our meetings. me and the head, we always walk away with insight. People are really engaged. So I think on the large spectrum, PQ felt like it wasn't building more community. I don't think that. You know what? I don't feel that. I don't think that. I know that's not true for this group. I've seen so many ahas and insights. And so you may hear rumors of COPs disbanding. Yeah, that's not us.
And Theresa, I want to mention I'm active in other PQ groups that are communities of practice, and they all feel the same way, that they're getting something out of it. So there's some disconnect between, what they see at PQ headquarters and what we see. So what we did with one of the other groups is we offered to open it to not just people that even know PQ knowledge. So if there was other people that wanted to join, so it actually might help us expand to places we have and invite people we haven't ever thought of before. So
totally open to that. Absolutely open to that. And I just didn't want anyone to have that freak out if they started hearing that COPs were going away or they're changing. And I think they're now having a COP advisory council, which of course the hyperachiever in me was like, yes, let's sign up for that. And then there's a COP something else. I'm like, yes, I'll do that too. Because I believe in what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
The rumors of our demise have been greatly exaggerated. Isn't that the old saying?
I'm not dead yet.
That's right. Just a flesh wound.
Just a flesh wound. So how many of you guys are walking away with something actionable, something you'll do, something you'll take on? Awesome. If you are in the app and you want to, sorry, I raised my own hand. If you are in the app and you want to share your 3 lifelines, love to hear more. Love to know what takeaways you're walking away with and what you're going to do going forward. And then also, if you want some Veronica's amazing at creativity, and creativity does not just mean I'm going to draw something.
Oh, no, I don't touch art in the stuff that I do. For the record, no art required. But you can if you want to on your own time.
There are many ways to get creative. Yeah, for sure.
Amen. Well, I just want to say thank you. We'll stick around for a couple more minutes. I'll stop the recording. Thank you all for making it to this Zoom room. The other one was PQ's, and like 4 months ago, they wouldn't let us record. I'm like, what's going on? And I knew something was up, but I didn't know what was up yet. It was before we had that conversation. So we already moved to this Zoom room. All right.